unmute or unmuted now. I think we're ready. Yep.
Welcome back, and thank you all for coming today. This is day 2 of the 3-day commission meeting for the Building Standards Commission. I will call the California Building Standards meeting to order. It is 9:05 on January 19th, 2022. Pam, would you please call the roll?
Undersecretary Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Klaas-Buckner,
Here.
Commissioner Mickelton,
Here.
Commissioner Sasaki,
Here.
Commissioner Patel,
Here.
Commissioner Santillan,
Good morning, I'm here.
Commissioner Alegre, Commissioner Stockwell,
Here.
Commissioner Rambin.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. We do have a quorum for this meeting. This meeting is being held remotely, consistent with Assembly Bill 361. This meeting can be viewed on the CBSC YouTube channel linked on the meeting agenda. I'd like to remind the viewers there is a 45-second or so delay. Closed captioning is available via Zoom's automated live transcription by clicking on the CC Live Transcript button. Closed captioning will automatically appear if you are watching via YouTube. The public may provide comments on each agenda item by calling in on the teleconference number provided on the meeting agenda or by using the raised hand feature in Zoom. Instructions are provided on the back page of the agenda. If you have difficulty with the technology, please call the CBSC office at 916-263-0916. I'll now read the phone instructions. All callers will begin in listen-only mode. If you wish to make a comment on a specific agenda item, please listen for the commission chair to ask for any comments from the public. At that time, please place yourself into the queue by pressing 1 and then 0 on your keypad. When you press 1 and then 0, you will be notified when the speaker is ready for your question. To withdraw your question, press 1 and then 0. When it's your turn to comment, you will hear, "Please ask your question after the tone." A tone will sound and the caller is now in talk mode. The chair will continue through the call queue until there are no questions remaining. The commission will then proceed to the next agenda item. Please refrain from pressing 1 and 0 multiple times. Doing this toggles your position in and out of the call queue. Press 1 and 0 only once and wait for your notification to speak. If possible, please call from a landline using the telephone handset only. This enhances the commission's ability to hear your comments clearly. Calling from a speakerphone or a cell phone reduces the quality of the audio and makes it much harder for your comments to be heard clearly. Depending on where we are on the agenda, we'll stop for lunch around 12 p.m. and if necessary, we can meet up until 5 p.m. We will now pick up where we left off Tuesday afternoon, which is agenda item 9C, the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 5/21, proposed adoption of the 2021 International Residential Code with amendments for incorporation into the 2022 California Residential Code, Part 2.5 of Title 24. Will a representative from the Office of the State Fire Marshal please yourself and provide an overview of item 9C.
Good morning, Secretary Lee and Commissioners. And I want to thank the Building Standards Commission for their work on the grouped topics. This section does not have a group topic because it is corresponds with the changes that we did in the building code. I will provide an overview, which includes that the work that we did through our work groups with our daycare, energy storage, especially the WUI group. I will point that there is one editorial correction that Commissioner Rablin pointed out in section 1.4, which is the one should be 111, not 9. Going through there, a lot of this was our editorial and our formatting changes to the new code. In section 3.4, our code had requirements for residential fire sprinklers in the regulation, and that came from section P2904, which we don't adopt and we don't print. So it was reprinted in that section, but it has not been updated. So we are updating the sprinkler standards as they have evolved to the newer editions. This also will allow intermediate temperature sprinkler heads for residential. We are repealing and replacing the requirements for the energy storage systems. We did a change in 3-9. There were changes in the statute, and we are reprinting the new statute there. Section 3.10, we do have an addendum. This is for the WUI regulations, the same addendum that we did for the building code. To change the language for the local areas for the high severity zones. And also all of the regulations that we approved in, or that you approved in the building code for the WUI are printed here also. And then editorial changes. So with that, we open it for any questions that you have and ask for your approval of our proposals for the California Residential Code. Thank you.
Thank you for that overview of the proposal. Item 9C is open for commission discussion. I'll call on each commissioner. Commissioner Patel,
Good morning. No questions.
Commissioner Klaus Bruckner,
No questions.
Commissioner Mickelton,
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Santillan,
No questions.
Commissioner Sasaki,
No questions.
Commissioner Stockwell,
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Rambin.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from members of the public on item 9C. At this time, I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak on item 9C to please put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. We'll go to the phone after we hear from the Zoom participants. Barbara, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised for agenda item 9C?
Yes. Sarah, go ahead.
Good morning, members of the commission. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. My name is Sarah Queter, and I am an attorney for the University of California. My comment today for this item -1-4 is in chapter 1, section 1.11.1, specifically the new definition being proposed for specified state-occupied buildings to include properties leased by the University of California. Consistent with comments made yesterday, the university would seek a change to not be considered a specified state-occupied building because the University of California has a unique constitutional status. and recognizing the commission's vote yesterday to consider a global change on how the University of California properties are treated under the code during the mid-cycle updates. The university is willing to work with the commission and the Office of the State Fire Marshal on appropriate language during the mid-cycle review. So this comment is consistent. I know that we sent a letter on an item in Chapter 9A, and we would also carry those comments with respect to the mid-cycle review. Thank you.
There are no other hands in Zoom. I'll check the vote.
You have one question remaining.
Yeah, this is Bob Raymer with the California Building Industry Association, and we're in strong support of the adoption of the fire marshal's changes to the California Residential Code for the reasons that we stated yesterday. And we'd like to extend a special thanks to both Greg and Crystal for all the work they've done over the past few years. Thank you very much.
You have 0 questions remaining.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion. I'll turn item 9C back over to the commission and entertain a motion to consider the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 5/21, which includes an addendum, proposed adoption of the 2021 International Residential Code with amendments for incorporation into the 2022 California Residential Code, Part 2.5 of Title 24.
Commissioner Sasaki, before I move to approve, I just want to note, based on the attorney for the University of California and those changes, that might be because state-owned is everywhere in all parts of the code. Anyway, it could be a significant undertaking in changing and adjusting that language. That's more of just a comment that it may take some time to do. But I do make a motion to approve. Thank you.
Commissioner Mickelton, second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded that the proposal be approved. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners regarding this motion? All right, hearing none, we will now have a roll call vote. Commissioners in favor, please indicate by stating aye. Those opposed, please indicate by stating no. If abstaining, please state this. Pam, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Klaus-Buckner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mickelton,
Aye.
Commissioner Sasaki,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Santillan,
Aye.
Commissioner Alegre, Commissioner Stockwell, Commissioner
Aye.
Rambin.
Aye.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. The vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. Our next agenda item is item 9D, the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 6/21, proposed adoption of the 2021 International Fire Code with amendments for incorporation into the 2022 California Fire Code, Part 9 of Title 24. Will a representative from the Office of the State Fire Marshal please introduce yourself and provide an overview of item 9D? And Greg, I believe we're grouping these again, correct?
Correct. Good morning, Commissioners and Secretary Lee. We'll look at the California Fire Code, which is grouped. I will do an overview of the general areas. We have the daycare proposals that we also did in the building code. We also, the model code brought in regulations for mobile food preparation vehicles. This is not covered by the State Fire Marshal. This is covered by HCD. So we're repealing those sections. We had, let's see, same issues.
Greg,
Yes,
you lost your.
can you hear me?
Gone.
He's here, but looks like we might be.
Could be us.
Oh, it could be our internet connection.
Yeah, I can hear Greg. So
He's good here.
Okay, so you guys can hear him. We were
Yes.
it was cutting out on us. I apologize. I think we're back. I think we're okay right now. All right, sorry.
Okay,
Greg.
good. No, always IT issues. Let's see. We have the same changes for the state specified buildings, and we appreciate the comment from the UCs. We did have some tense anchoring requirements that we brought in, and energy storage systems. For that section, we did bring in some new changes that they adopted for the 24 codes for vehicle impact protection that was approved in the Group A. We also have the reference standards that we've updated. There was a big change that we did in Chapter 49 for the WUI regulations. We worked with the Board of Forestry, Cal Chiefs, FBOs, local authorities, to bring all the regulations to one place for the officials. It is mostly pointers and excerpts from other regulations, but trying to make it convenient for the code users to find all the regulations in one spot. We did expand on some things. We actually added Appendix P for the community fire hazard evaluation. It is not adopted. It would have to be adopted to the locals, but it's to work as a guide for the locals if they choose to go down that. It also has pointers for the new things that are happening with subdivision review survey, the general plan, safety elements, defensible space, and vegetation management. As we are continuing to work on the issues with the wildland fires, we found it important to bring it to one spot. We have a lot of editorial updates. We are repealing and replacing the tall wood buildings, energy storage systems, the mechanical parking structures, and the special amusement areas. And of course, there was a large number of editorial changes and formatting changes to match the new edition. And then we continue to delete Chapter 38 for the higher education laboratories because we have the Group L occupancies. So with that, that is an overview of the whole package. Looking at the grouped items, if you want to start through the groups, we can do that, but I will open it for any questions at this time.
I want to make sure all the commissioners have the document up. That's the group items, Part 9 grouped items. In case they wanted to follow along with that.
Greg, I have a question. This is Commissioner Klaus-Brickner.
Yes.
Did you just say that you are removing the L occupancy?
No, we are removing the higher education laboratories because we have the L occupancy.
Okay. So the L occupancy that was created by California remains.
Correct.
Thank you. You made my heart skip a beat for a second.
That's not the intent.
All right, should we start with Chapter 1, administration, and maybe get through a couple of these? I'd suggest Chapter 1, 2, and 3, maybe.
Sounds good.
I have one question, Greg. It looks like item 1-16 and 1-17 are listed under Chapter 1 administration, and they're also under the energy storage system group. So would you prefer to cover those under energy storage system group, and we won't take them up as part of Chapter 1?
We can do it as part of 1. We can keep it the same because those are just repealed and replaced.
You want to go ahead and get started with an overview? Thank you.
Certainly. Chapter 1 is fairly straightforward. It is our editorial changes, things that we brought in, the state specified buildings. We removed the pointers to the mobile food preparation vehicles. Chapter 2 is our definitions. We brought in photovoltaic definitions there. And then chapter 3 is we have our sprinkler updates that I was discussing earlier, so that we're bringing the new changes in P2904 and we're adding them to 313. That's the overview. So with that, we ask for your approval to these items.
All right, thank you. I'm going to open this up for commission discussion on these 3 items under 9D, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3. Now we'll go through and call on each commissioner. Commissioner Patel,
No comments.
Commissioner Klaus Bruckner,
No comment.
Commissioner Mickelton,
No questions on the sections, but just as a matter of order, I'm wondering whether it would make sense for simplicity, since there are lots of individual items in these multiple groups, if we want to consider maybe handling each one as a discussion and then voting on the entire set as one. I don't know if that's doable.
it's fine with me if it's okay.
No, I think that's a good suggestion, rather than going through each of these and making a motion and approving them. If we can do that simply at the end, keeping track of any whatever changes that we might have in addition to what's already been put forward by the fire marshal.
So the suggestion is to just continue to go through the grouped items and then take one motion later, or separate any items that need a separate motion. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure after commission discussion that we have an opportunity to go to the public to hear from the public.
Correct.
Okay. All right, very good. So we're moving on beyond 1 through 12. Yeah.
Or just one public comment.
We'll just do comment at the end and hear if any commissioners have comments as we go through.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. All right, thank you, Commissioner Mickelson, for that suggestion. We will do that. Commissioner Santillan,
I agree with the suggestion of Commissioner Mickelton and Commissioner Sasaki. It's just a lot simpler to move this along. And yesterday we ended up making a motion on the overall content. So one motion I would think would make sense. I agree. And I have no questions at this time other than my comments.
thank you. Commissioner Sasaki,
No questions.
Commissioner Stockwell,
No questions.
Commissioner Rambin.
Just the same editorial comment that we talked about the state-owned buildings, getting 10 and 11 in there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll turn it back over to Greg Anderson for a review of, what do you suggest, Greg, Chapter 4 and Chapter 5?
Well, I guess, do we want to, this is a question, do we want to go to the phones to see if there's any public, well, I mean, one, see if there's any public comment in Zoom, and then see if there's any public comment on the phones. That way we can kind of keep track of the different sections. That makes sense?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from members of the public on item 9D, sections 1, 2, and 3. At this time, I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak to these items to put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. We'll go to the phone after we hear from the Zoom participants. Barbara, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised for agenda item 9D?
There are no hands raised. I'll check the phone.
You have 0 questions remaining.
No comments.
Thank you. I will turn it back over to the Office of the State Fire Marshal for review on Chapter 4, Chapter 5. And what do you think, Greg? Does 10 go with that? And then we'll hit the WUI stuff separately?
Chapters 5 through 9 and 10 are very editorial, so we can go right into chapter 49 if you like also.
Okay.
Commissioners, going through that, chapter 4 is basically renumbering. It's just editorial. Chapters 5 through 6, most of this is just editorial. There's repeal and replace. There's also repeal and replace of the gas detection. I will add, we do have the addendum in there also. I believe it lands in that section. That may be part of the WUI. May have that number wrong. Chapter 10 is editorial. We also did, I will point out on 10.11 and 10.12, we did update the requirements for the accessibility for the size of the wheelchair to match with 11A and 11B. Going right into chapter 49. As I said before, there's a lot of work done for chapter 49, and we're really proud of the work that we've done in this, working with the Board of Forestry, the fire officials, Cal Chief, to put this all in one location. I think this will be a great tool for the local jurisdictions and the building officials as we move forward addressing the wildland fire issues. So with that, we will continue to ask the approval for this and open it for any questions.
Thank you for that overview.
This is Crystal. There is one edit that needs to be made on item 920. It's the same item that was made in the building code under 29.11.3.4, number 4, to delete the word or.
You spoke my mind.
Crystal, can I ask that you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Sure. Item 9-20. Under 29.11.3.4, specific location requirements, item 4, there's the word or that needs to be struck.
Okay. Thank you for that.
This is Commissioner Klaus-Berkner. It's the first or in that sentence that needs to be struck.
Got it.
Just
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and call on each commissioner for any comments about these items. Commissioner Patel?
I have no questions, but I want to thank the Fire Marshal's Office for all the work on Chapter 49. It's very helpful for building officials. Thank you.
Commissioner Klaus-Berkner?
no questions.
Commissioner Mickelton?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Santillan?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Sasaki?
No questions.
Commissioner Stockwell?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Rambin?
I just had one editorial comment on item 49-3. This is section 4901.2 purpose. I think there's a the that needs to be deleted. So reduce the likelihood of life and property loss due to wildfire. This small thing. And I also would like to really compliment the State Fire Marshal's Office on this chapter and all the work that you've put into it. I live in a very high fire zone, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from members of the public on item 9D. Chapter 4, chapters 5 through 9, chapter 10, and chapter 49. At this time, I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak to these items to please put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. Go to the phone after we hear from the Zoom participants. Barbara, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised for agenda item 9B?
Yes, first comment is going to be Larry. Go ahead.
Good morning, Larry Williams. I'm with Ventura County Fire Department. First of all, we'd like to thank the commission and the State Fire Marshal's office, specifically Chief Anderson and Crystal, for their work in reviewing the lengthy comments that we submitted, not only to Chapter 49, but also to Chapter 7A of the Building Code and the Residential Code to clarify some of the terms and some of the concerns regarding the new changes in state law with the mapping of the moderate and high zones in the local responsibility areas. I was on the Board of Forestry's Resource Protection Committee meeting yesterday. We got an update that hopefully those maps should be coming out very shortly, as was the word. But more importantly, I'm also working on the Board of Forestry Zone 0 work group. And we had 3 of our research members go out to Colorado to the Marshal fire to start some of the reviews and assist on the after action report. And just some of the preliminary information coming back and the observations, I think, are going to be very beneficial to California in not only the defensible space standards to Zone 0, but also some of our stuff and work on Chapter 7A and attached decks, etc. So we're looking forward to hearing some of that and the work that's going on. We strongly support the proposals and the work that's been done. We look forward to working with the State Fire Marshal's office on the rest of our comments and future improvements of the codes. And thank you for your time.
Our next comment is from Jeff. Go ahead.
Good morning, commissioners. This is Jeff Isaacs, Fire Marshal for the Moraga-Renda Fire District. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Again, thank you. I'd like to comment on section 4907, defensible space, item 4924. The proposed amendment to section 4907.3 of chapter 49 requires that hazardous vegetation around all structures in SRA be maintained in accordance with Public Resource Code section 4291. Does the commission intend for this requirement to apply to publicly owned as well as privately owned buildings? If not, would the defensible space requirements of section 3.07 of Title 19 of the California Code of Regulations, which is also referenced in section 4907.3, apply to publicly owned buildings? Health and Safety Code section 13146 assigns to local government agencies, including fire protection districts, the responsibility for enforcing the regulations of the State Fire Marshal. And Health and Safety Code section 13811 assigns to fire protection districts the responsibility for fire prevention and suppression of structure fires on SRA lands that are within their boundaries. Is it the commission's intent that local government agencies, including fire protection districts, may enforce the requirements of section 4907.3 and SRA, or is the enforcement authority reserved to CAL FIRE? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are no other hands on Zoom. We'll check the phone.
You have 1 question remaining.
Yeah, thank you. This is Bob Raymer with the California Building Industry Association, and also speaking on behalf of the California Business Properties Association and the California Apartment Association, in strong support of the Fire Marshal's changes to Chapter 49. The Board of Forestry is in the process of updating their fire safe development standards, so we can expect to see a lot of changes in this in the future, and we look forward to working with the Fire Marshal down the road. Thank you.
You have 0 questions remaining.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion. I'll turn these items back over to the commission for any further comments before I turn it back over to Greg, if anybody wanted to comment on any of the callers' questions.
No, this is Commissioner Sasaki, but obviously would like Greg to respond to Mr. Marshall's comments.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Oh.
Greg, would you like to respond to Mr. Isaac's questions regarding the jurisdiction?
Yes. The scope of the building code actually does not extend beyond the building. So we have pointers to the law and the regulations, but as far as who enforces that, that would fall upon statute and the regulations created by the Board of Forestry through Title 14. So it's not something I can answer. We have provided the tools to get you to the correct regulations in the law that would correspond with those requirements.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners?
This is Crystal. I actually have one other editorial correction that needs to be made. In 49-24, in 4907.3 requirements, number 4, it should say Title 19, Division 1, Chapter 1, not Chapter 7.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn this back over to Greg to start with miscellaneous chapters on page 5. And if those are mostly, go ahead, Greg, yeah.
I think there's a point of order. I don't think you checked the phones yet.
We did check the phones for everything. We regulations, those were Mr. Williams and Mr. Isaac's comments and Bob Raymer.
Excellent. Then I will continue. We can take this to the end now.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thank you.
Chapter 80 is our adoption of the reference standards, which correlates with the changes that we did in the building code, including NFPA 72 to the 22 edition, 13 to the 22 edition. The energy storage systems group, we are repealing and replacing with the model code with the addition of the vehicle impact protection that was approved for the 24 codes in Group A. The elevator work group, those are editorial changes, mostly with renumbering and another match to match what's in the building code. The special amusement chapters, it's repeal and replace. There is a couple additions where we put in the requirement for anchoring for the special amusement, like the bounce houses, to ASTM 5234 for anchoring. And there is a note on there for in item 31-4 for water-filled vessels. To use those as anchoring, it has to be approved from the manufacturer. This was noted by the fire service that there's a lot of issues with evaporation. They've had incidences where the anchoring has failed because of this. Section I2 and I2.1, a lot of editorial changes, removing the condition 2. We deleted because of some conflicts, there was a deletion of the ICC regulations in 913. And we coordinated all these changes with OSHPD. And then there were some other sections where we repealed our amendments and adopt the model code because they had matched it. Going into the I4 childcare and daycare, those are the same changes that we did through the work group and for the building code, which leaves us with the tall wood buildings, which is a repeal and replace the model code. We open that for any questions and ask you to approve the all amendments with the amendment and editorial changes for the California Fire Code.
Thank you for that overview of the proposal. Item 9D, starting on page 5 of our attachment and going through to the end, is open for commission discussion. I'll call on each commissioner. Commissioner Patel.
Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had one comment. Greg, I had one question. On the anchorage for the temporary structures in 31-4, did we do any cross-reference in the building code that would take us to sort of these requirements, you know? Or are these just in the fire code regarding the water-filled vessels and the...
This is for temporary, so that falls into the fire code.
Agreed, but there's no, I know a lot of it comes through the building department and the building official to review the structural sometimes. Is there any pointer that goes to this? I just want to make sure that people are aware that these requirements are here.
I don't believe that we did. And Crystal, if you recall that, but it's something we can look in the next cycle. That is a very good point.
I think that the model code, because in the building code, when it mentions tents, it referenced back to the fire code.
Okay, all right, I'll take a look too. So thank you, that was my only question.
Thank you. Commissioner Klaus Bruckner.
I have a question on 3-7.0, which is the storage of lithium ion and lithium metal batteries. So you guys mentioned that everything's pretty much adopting the model code except for the vehicle impact sections, but that appears to be a new section, and I was wondering where it came from. How did it come about? Unless I'm mistaken. It's section 322, storage of lithium ion and lithium metal batteries.
Yes.
Do you want me to take this, Chief?
Yeah, go ahead. I know.
So this is a proposal that was recently heard in the ICC Group A and approved in what's it called, the preliminary approval stages, and it was proposed for the fire code.
And I guess I have a follow-up question. Has it gone through the public vote?
Yes. It's went through the CAC hearings, the public comment phase, and then the public comment hearing. And so this is what was approved, and I can send you the.
So you're gonna bring it in early?
Yes.
What we are doing.
Exactly.
Follow-up question. Is this section exempting lithium ion and lithium metal batteries out of Chapter 50? In other words, if they follow these regulations, they don't need to follow Chapter 50. Because you guys haven't added an exemption in Chapter 50 saying storage of lithium ion and lithium metal batteries in accordance with section 322 as an exception in Chapter 50. Sorry. Does that?
No, that's a good question.
We did not add anything to Chapter 50.
So both applies technically.
Yes.
Even if something's so this is added regulations in addition to whatever Chapter 50 requires.
Correct.
Thank you. That was it.
Thank you. Commissioner Mickelton,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Santillan,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Sasaki,
No questions.
Commissioner Stockwell.
No questions.
Commissioner Rambin?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from members of the public on item 9D, starting with miscellaneous chapters. I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak on item 9D to please put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. We'll go to the phone after we hear from the Zoom participants. Barbara, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised for agenda item 9D?
There are no hands raised.
You have 0 questions remaining.
No comments.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion. I'll turn item 9D back over to the commission and entertain a motion to consider the full package, the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 6/21, proposed adoption of the 2021 International Fire Code with amendments for incorporation into the 2022 California Fire Code, Part 9 of Title 24.
Commissioner Klaus Berkner, move to approve.
Commissioner Stockwell. Second.
Commissioner Stockwell, second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded that the proposal be approved. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners regarding this motion? All right, hearing none, we'll now have a roll call vote. Commissioners in favor, please indicate by stating aye. Those opposed, please indicate by stating no. If abstaining, please state this. Pam, please conduct a roll call vote.
Commissioner Klaus Buckner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mickelton,
Aye.
Commissioner Sasaki,
I do want to have just one comment, and that was based on Commissioner Patel's comment about temporary structures and anchorage. And just, I was looking at the 2019 CBC. There's a whole section 3103 on temporary structures that includes anchorage requirements. So Fire Marshal may just want to take a look at that anyway for next code cycle about how the anchorage works with that chapter. But I is my vote.
thank you. Commissioner Patel,
Thank you, Commissioner Sasaki, for that, and aye.
Commissioner Santillan,
Aye.
Commissioner Stockwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Rambin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. Agenda item 9E is the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 7/21, proposed adoption of the 2021 International Existing Building Code with amendments for incorporation into the 2022 California Existing Building Code, Part 10 of Title 24. Will a representative from the Office of the State Fire Marshal please introduce yourself and provide an overview of item 9E?
Good morning, commissioners and Secretary Lee. Item 10 is fairly straightforward. I'm bringing up my page. I'm a little slow on that one. I apologize. Most of it is maintaining the issues that we have in the existing code. As you know, we are working for the next cycle with a work group to address the chapters that are not printed, but with the time and the work that needs to be done, it's not part of this group. Otherwise, in this, we did editorial changes. We added the pointers to the WUI area, and then the general adoption. So with that, we ask your approval.
Thank you for that overview. Item 9E is open for commission discussion. I'll call on each commissioner. Commissioner Patel,
I have no questions.
Commissioner Klaus Bruckner,
No questions.
Commissioner Mickelton,
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Santillan,
Questions?
Commissioner Sasaki,
No questions.
Commissioner Allegre. Oh, she's not here. Cross her off. Commissioner Stockwell,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Rambin.
Just the save editorial comments in 1.5, adding 10 and 11 to that list. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from members of the public on item 9E. At this time, I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak on item 9E to please put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. We'll go to the phone after we hear from the Zoom participants. Barbara, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised for agenda item 9E?
No hands raised in Zoom.
You have 0 questions remaining.
No comments.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion. I'll turn item 9E back over to the commission and entertain a motion to consider the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 7/21 proposed adoption of the 2021 International Existing Building Code with amendments for incorporation into the 2022 California Existing Building Code, Part 10 of Title 24.
Commissioner Rambin moved to approve.
Commissioner Mickelton, second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded that the proposal be approved. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners regarding this motion? All right, hearing none, we'll now have a roll call vote. Commissioners in favor, please indicate by stating aye. Those opposed, please indicate by stating no. If abstaining, please state this. Pam, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Klaus Buckner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mickelton,
Aye.
Commissioner Sasaki,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Santillan,
Aye.
Commissioner Stockwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Rambin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. Agenda item 9F is the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 8/21 proposed adoption of amendments to the 2019 California Referenced Standards Code for incorporation into the 2022 California Referenced Standards Code, Part 12 of Title 24. Will a representative from the Office of the State Fire Marshal please introduce yourself and provide an overview of item 9F?
Good morning, Commissioners and Secretary Lee. My name is Greg Anderson. I'm the Chief Code Development and Analysis. Part 12 is very easy. In an earlier cycle, we changed the reference in Chapter 7A to ASME 2768. And we have a note in there, things were previously approved under reference standard 12-7A-5 are acceptable. That is still there, but as all the new materials that would be tested, they no longer need 12-7A-5. So we are repealing it. And that is our proposal for part 12. With that, I open it for any questions and ask for your approval.
Thank you for that overview. Item 9F is open for commission discussion. I'll call on each commissioner. Commissioner Patel,
I have no questions.
Commissioner Klaus Bruckner,
No questions.
Commissioner Mickelton,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Santillan,
No questions.
Commissioner Sasaki,
No questions.
Commissioner Stockwell,
No questions.
Commissioner Rambin.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take comments from members of the public on item 9F. At this time, I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak on item 9F to please put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. We'll go to the phone after we hear from the Zoom participants. Barbara, does anyone on Zoom have their hand raised for agenda item 9F?
There are no hands raised in Zoom.
You have 0 questions remaining.
No comments.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion. I'll turn item 9F back over to the commission and entertain a motion to consider the Office of the State Fire Marshal Rulemaking SFM 8/21 proposed adoption of amendments to the 2019 California Reference Standards Code for incorporation into the 2022 California Referenced Standards Code, Part 12 of Title 24.
Commissioner Mickelton, move to approve.
Commissioner Klaus Bruckner, second.
Klaus Buckner, second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded that the proposal be approved. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners regarding this motion? All right, hearing none, we'll now have a roll call vote. Commissioners in favor, please indicate by stating aye. Those opposed, please indicate by stating no. If abstaining, please state this. Pam, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Klaus Buckner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mickelton,
Aye.
Commissioner Sasaki,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Santillan,
Aye.
Commissioner Stockwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Rambin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. Next on our agenda is item 10. Executive Director Mia Marvelli will provide an overview of commission business.
Well, congratulations, first of all. So I'll just do a brief overview of where we are right now in the code cycle. You've essentially taken action on approximately 45 code packages since December. So that's pretty impressive. And I appreciate that you all understand the efforts that have gone in over the past year plus with all the state agencies' hard work. I want to commend the Code Advisory Committee members for their volunteering their time and their efforts to review every single code change and providing a recommendation. That is a huge lift. Of course, we can't do this without public input, and there has been an enormous amount of public input on all these code packages. And when I talk about the intervening code cycle, I'll touch on that a little bit. And of course, thank you to the BSC staff for all their hard work. We're all faced with very similar issues in all of our organizations with constantly changing information and the hurdles that have been presented to us for the last couple of years, and none of us seem to be immune to that. But I have to say I'm very proud to be part of an organization that has been flexible and dedicated to the work that they do. And I'll say that about the state agencies as well. Somehow we all got through this and completed a triennial code cycle. So that is no easy lift.
I want to, Commissioner Sasaki, I want to agree, support what Mia just said. I think it's really a remarkable and tremendous effort amongst everybody, including Mia and her staff, including the chair, to get this done in pretty extraordinary and trying time. And anyway, so I thank everybody's efforts in that regard.
Thank you very much. I don't want to miss anybody. Oh, I know that the next part of this. So we, now that these regulations have been approved and adopted by the commission, we are working to get the final express terms with the notation that they're approved by the commission and posted those to our website. So the December meeting, I think they're going up right now. And it takes a little bit of time because we want to verify that we've included any editorial changes and addendum items before we file those with Secretary of State, and then we put them on our website. So you'll be seeing that information. We're already engaging with the 3 publishers. We've been working with them for a number of months to do a lot of, we call it early work, to identify that we're carrying forward prior amendments from the codes into this code cycle, and then now starting to blend the approved standards with them. I also would like to recognize the hard work that they've done. Same with these trying times. They're also faced with similar staffing issues due to the pandemic and supply chain issues. So, and of course, like all of us, somehow an increased workload, even though we're nothing has changed. And then I'd really like to thank the public for their thoughtful input and collaboration. That's what this is all about, right? Is amending the codes to the impacted code users, which is the local jurisdictions as well. That said, we're already starting to talk about code changes for the intervening cycle. We'll be looking at having a coordinating council probably in late February, early March, but that doesn't just start the code cycle. As you heard, Greg is already committed to having a couple of workshops in February to talk about WUI regs, and then also the International Existing Building Code and potentially adopting more chapters in a future cycle. A lot of the comments that we heard at the December meeting that BSC staff will be looking into in collaboration with the other state agencies, like the adoption of the Uniform Plumbing Code Appendix M, which was the peak water demand calculator. We'll also be looking again at the electric vehicle charging regulations in Cal Green, and of course, several others that have been brought up. The intervening code cycle workshop phase can begin anytime, and I anticipate that will start probably for us in February or March. We also have to get through this codification portion. And we'll be sending out a notification to the state agencies that the rulemakings will be due to BSC December of next year. And with that, again, thank you so much for your support, and that's all I have. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those.
Thank you. This item is open for commission discussion, and before I call on the commissioners, I also would just like to thank all of you, excuse me, for your service. I know that you know, for us, this is a part of my day job to be here, but you all do this above and beyond what you do every day for a living. And so I just want you to know how much we appreciate you being on this commission and doing this work, because it's important work to you. And I know you don't get many accolades or a huge salary for it. So thank you so much for serving on this commission. Really appreciate it. And I love coming here and sharing this because you're a wonderful group of people. And I really enjoyed the time that we get to spend together. So thank you. And with that, I'll call on each commissioner. Commissioner Patel.
I just want to thank BSC and BSC staff for their excellence as always. And I also want to let my colleagues know on the commission how much I appreciate their expertise and working with them. So thank you.
Commissioner Klaus Bruckner.
I echo the sentiments that Mia expressed, as well as Commissioner Patel. It was quite a challenge, and we've managed to work through most of it. Is there room for improvement? Always. And so that's all I have to say, but I will suggest something in the future agenda item that might help smooth the process a little bit better. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Mickelson.
Thank you. Yeah, I obviously want to echo everybody's thanks to everybody involved in the process. And it's kind of amazing, having been on the commission for a number of years now, to see the consistency with which staff members, especially, and agency staff as well as the BSC, deal with the very complex, sometimes contentious issues that come forth and presented to us in a coherent way, and that just is a huge undertaking and much appreciated. The only other thing I was going to throw out is that I was going to suggest, and I'd like to hear what the other commissioners think about this as well, that for members of the public, for proposing state agencies, and the other commissioners, to hear at the beginning of the commission meeting what the sort of schedule is for exactly how long we have until, or how long a particular state agency has in order to potentially do a further study. This came up, I'm bringing it up now because you just went through the timing ahead of us, Mia, which is helpful. But I think, it's different for each meeting. It was different in December versus now, whether or not an agency has that time to do a further study. And I think there were issues yesterday and in December where, I and at least some, if not all of my fellow commissioners were a little uncertain about kicking something back to an agency to revisit, whether it was tweaking language or asking questions. And so I think more certainty on that would be helpful.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Santillan.
Thank you. I also want to thank, of course, all the wonderful work that the California Building Standards Commission does, Mia and all of her staff, all of the state agencies, and to me, and I'm sure to my fellow commissioners, we are all always looking to ensure that the process from the beginning until it comes to us for consideration is followed. I want to encourage all of the stakeholders to pay attention to the meeting dates, when the process starts, as just to echo the thoughts of Commissioner Mickelson, and encourage that you participate from the beginning and follow through. To me, it's very important that you have been given the opportunity, and so not to belabor my point, but encourage stakeholders to participate from the beginning. I think all of the state agencies do a wonderful job of allowing comments, suggestions. We see it all the time in our package. So thank you very much. Great job on state agencies and of course all the staff at the California Building Standards Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sasaki?
No further comments, just congratulations to everybody. And it'll be great to see this new code for real. And I guess a hope, and maybe this is a far stretch for a hope, but that at some point in time in the future, we actually get back together again in person to have these meetings. We'll see if that happens. Obviously, we can't control what COVID does, but I think I know for myself, I mean, having meetings in person, listening to agency staff, and in particular, listening to the public give comment. I mean, it's one thing to see them on Zoom, and it's even another thing just to simply listen to them on the phone, but obviously to have people comment, testify, talk about their issues in person is very helpful for me and powerful. So anyway, I look forward to the day that we can have these meetings in person. Thank you.
Thank you. From your lips to God's ears. Commissioner Stockwell?
Yeah, want to echo everybody's sentiments about the great job the Building Standards Commission and staff did this go around. It went very smoothly. And what Eric Mickelton said, I'd also like to hear more about the procedures pushing things forward when we don't have resolution on items. But thank you all. Great job. Looking forward to the next go around.
Thank you. Commissioner Rambin?
I too would like to echo all the compliments to the adopting and proposing agencies and to BSC. I think it's gone very well, and it's certainly a complex process. I want to also echo Commissioner Sasaki's comments on wanting to meet in person. I have not met any of you in person, with the exception of one person that I've met professionally. And I think there is a lot to be said for meeting and hearing from people face to face. And also echoing Commissioner Mickelton's comments on schedule, I think a lot of the frustration from the public that we heard in the December meeting was a lack of understanding and clarity on how early the public needs to get involved if they really want to affect change in the regulations. So I think making really clear the deadlines for workshops, et cetera, and the intervening code cycle would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'd like to remind the public who are on the phone and wish to speak on item 10 to please put yourself in the queue now by pressing 1 and then 0. Barbara, can you check Zoom for any commenters on agenda item 10? There are no hands raised.
You have 0 questions remaining.
No comment. Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion, and there's no action required of the commission. Next on the agenda is item 11, future agenda items. Do any of the commissioners have any items they wish to have placed on future agendas?
I actually have a suggestion that's open to discussion. Here on the commission, we have, when we vote, we have 3 options: approve, disapprove, and further send it back for further study. A lot of times with the deadlines given, we're put in a bit of a corner as far as we don't have an option for further study, where the package might, for the most part, be a good package, but it might need some improvement. But we are hit with these deadlines of publications, and we are almost sometimes forced into just approving the proposed sections. And I sense some frustration, not just from me, but other members of the commission. And I was wondering if there is a possibility for us to have a subgroup to see if we can improve on the procedure that might help us be able to empower us to have to be able to reject portions of the proposed change versus rejecting the entire change. For example, with the State Fire Marshal's Office's package, it was divided into sections where you could take a look and send something back for further study versus some of the other agencies we couldn't do that. So I was wondering if there's room for a subcommittee of this commission to be able to take a look at the process and see if there is a way for us to be able to work it out better so that we can, if we have strong objections towards smaller portions of a bigger package, that we are able to send that portion back for further study. Does anybody else have any other commissioners have any input, or am I the only one?
This is Commissioner Mickelton. So that's responding to the same concerns that I had for sure. So if there's something that we as a commission subgroup could do to help staff to work on that, I'd certainly be happy to participate in that. So I'll leave it to staff to say whether that would be that could be helpful or not.
This is Commissioner Patel. I support that suggestion. I think I'd even broaden it to maybe having a subcommittee just look at the process. I mean, we've gone through the entire code adoption. Every state agency, we've done a great job, I think, in trying to make it uniform or consistent as far as what state agencies give us, but there's still variations. So maybe it's relooking at some of the documents that are provided to us by the state agencies, maybe trying to see if there's a common template that we could use that would make it easier for the public as well to be able to identify code changes early. So I'd support the idea.
All right, any other commissioner comment on this? All right, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion regarding forming a subcommittee to improve on the procedural process.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Mickelton, second.
Thank you.
Just a quick point of order on this issue. I guess maybe it needs to be clarified whether we're talking about an official subcommittee or just a little subgroup. So 2 people in a subgroup are not subject to the Bagley-Keene Act. 3 people in a subgroup is a subcommittee, and it falls under the scope of the Bagley-Keene Act with public open meetings. So I'm not sure if at this point that is a necessary determination, but if this is the final motion, maybe that needs to be clarified or some more discussion about what the intent is there.
I prefer a subcommittee, a formal subcommittee. So my motion is to, because if I'd rather have more than just 2 people looking at this, if there are other volunteers within the commission. By the way, this is Commissioner Klausberg.
So if I could make just a thought here. So we currently have 2 subcommittees of the commission. We have the appeals committee, which comprises of Commissioner Sasaki, Allegre, and Klausbruckner. And then we also have a code adoption committee, which in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like this discussion would fall within that committee. I believe this committee was involved in helping us determine some code process items several years back. This committee also hears and looks at the applications from the Code Advisory Committee members. And this committee is made up of Commissioner Patel, Klaus Breckner, Santian, Mekitin, and Sasaki. So we could create another subcommittee. I'm totally okay with that, but I just want to make you all aware of the 2 subcommittees we currently already have.
This is Commissioner Mikitin. It seems like that that subcommittee would be appropriate, the code adoption subcommittee, and we're both already on it, Ellie, so that's convenient. And I would also ask that, Mia, maybe you could speak to this concern that we're expressing, and whether you think that, I had suggested that, at the beginning of every meeting that we could sort of preface the entire meeting with a statement of exactly how much time is left, how much time would it take for a further study, for a simple versus complex item, because that's different sometimes in terms of the public process. But beyond sort of providing people information, do you see that a committee discussion of this issue could lead to a potential change in the overall process, or is that process in terms of timeline more limited by regulation?
Well, I absolutely think it's worth the discussion with the subcommittee. But I will say there are a lot of things in the law that require us to do. The timing, for example, is really mandated by law. But what might be helpful is to have this subcommittee discussion so we can lay all that out and then look for streamlining opportunities. I am open to change. But I think having the public meeting where the public will be participating, it will be helpful to see, oh, there is this process in place that certain things have opportunities for improvement, but other things it's like this is what we're bound by. So I hope that answers the question. I would agree there is difficulty in making a steadfast statement as to whether there's time for further study, because as you pointed out, Commissioner Mikitin, it depends on the complexity. The commission has if the commission provides takes a position other than approve, for example, disapprove or further study, they also need to provide in writing why it doesn't meet the 9-point criteria and why they're sending that back. So these are just some things that we can talk about in that subcommittee to fully explain that. There have been instances in the past where code packages have gotten a further study on specific items within the code package, not the entire code package. And there was time to address that in the cycle. There certainly have been those opportunities. So yeah, I'm open to that.
That's great.
This is Commissioner Santiago. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I was just going to add that that's a very good point, especially with it being a subcommittee, that the public then has an opportunity to weigh in on what they see as the challenges of bringing commentary, which we've seen, again, as I said, in December and then yesterday, in terms of potential frustration with the timing. So I'm all for that.
This is Commissioner Santillan. So my comments about encouraging stakeholders to participate in the process, and from the beginning, it's important to all of us that is followed. I fully support what Commissioner Klaus-Buckner, the idea, and to me, I'm just trying to understand what we're allowed to do by statute. And so I think vetting and going through a thorough discussion about what we're allowed would be an excellent idea. And again, I support what we're trying to do, the intent of what we're trying to do, because it is frustrating. And we hear it from the public and I've been on this commission going on 7 years. I've seen it. There are issues where they've been, very difficult, if I can use that word. And so I support the intent, but I don't understand enough of what we're allowed to do at our level, and having a discussion, as Mia pointed out, would be the way to go, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think we have a motion and a second kind of hanging out there that we didn't vote on. So Ellie, do you want to withdraw that?
I'd like to withdraw that motion and recommend that the existing code adoption subcommittee take a closer look at the process and the formatting with which the agencies are proposing their changes, and take a look at that and see if there's room for improvement where whereby it makes the process easier for commissioners to evaluate and dissect the proposed changes and be allowed to have more flexibility with further study options in as far as some of the sections that they have concerns with. That was a very lengthy comment. I apologize for it, for a simple idea. but I think everybody, I think a lot of people, I'm getting a lot of comments from fellow commissioners that they are agree with me and they're open to this. So that's my suggestion. Now it's not a motion because we're not creating a subcommittee.
Correct. Thank you. Commissioner Mickelson, did you want to make another comment?
I was just wondering if we actually do need to prefer a motion to send it to the subcommittee. I'm not sure if Ellie, you actually were making that motion. It sounded like you were first.
I wasn't aware that you have to make a motion for that, but yes. If a motion is required to send this back for further study to the subcommittee, to the code adoption subcommittee, then yes, I would like that. And one more point, Mia, thank you so much for understanding. I mean, I know how hard it is for you and your staff to already meet all the deadlines and all the headaches, and for you to be open to possible suggestions to changes to the process that finally is going smoothly for you guys. It's really greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Deanna, do you want to clarify if we actually need a motion on the subcommittee issue?
Sure. So you don't necessarily need a motion, but I think a motion would be helpful because it would clarify exactly the intent of what the committee is supposed to look at and maybe what the commissioners expect the committee to do about it. If you want to put that in a motion, for example, you could have a motion to have this as a task item for the subcommittee and also for the subcommittee to report back, or have several meetings in which they explore this and then report back, or some kind of plan like that could be in a motion, in which would make it clear, first of all, what you're intending, and also make sure that all the commissioners have the same understanding with that vote. That would really help. But you don't have to. If you want to leave it more kind of generic for the moment, you could just have a discussion.
For clarity's sake, I'd like to make a motion for the code adoption subcommittee to attend several meetings or start several meetings where they evaluate the process as well as the formatting to see if there may be improvements in the process, in the procedures and the formatting, to help commissioners have more options as far as disapprovals of subsections or parts of the proposed changes, or further study of parts of the proposed changes. Again, it's not I'm not doing a good job of brevity, but I apologize for that. But I think
This is Commissioner Mickelson. I would just add a friendly amendment to that we also have the subcommittee look at or gather public input into the process as well, just to make it sort of a complete package. And then I would also add my second to the motion.
All right, it's moved and seconded that the Code Adoption Subcommittee convene several meetings to evaluate the process and formatting for improvements to procedures to help the commissioners have more options regarding the approval, disapproval, or further study of the proposals presented to them, and furthermore, to gather public input on the process. Does that sound correct? All right.
yes.
Is there any further discussion from the commissioners regarding this motion?
This is Commissioner Patel. I just had one comment. Can we discuss potentially how we could include Commissioner Stockwell and Rambin in this process? Would they be participating with us on a call, or how could they be part of it as well? I mean, I know they're not formally on the committee, but they could participate just like the public can. I mean, I'd like to get their opinions as well in the process.
This is Commissioner Rambin. I mean, that was my thought, that I would just attend the meeting essentially as a member of the public.
Viana,
This is Commissioner Mickelson. I'm now wondering whether we just want to have a special commission hearing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about I know I'm being asked a question here, so I'm trying to think about the options. I think the other commissioners can attend as members of the public and provide input that way. But it sounds like if maybe the intent is to have almost all the commissioners participate at this point, then maybe a special meeting on that issue, like a preliminary special meeting for that purpose, and then maybe narrower tasks to the subcommittee later once that's kind of fully discussed in a bigger open meeting would make sense. I mean, there's several ways to do it, but it is permissible for the other commissioners to attend as members of the public, especially since the subcommittee is an open meeting and fits under Bagley-Keene Act, and you're complying with that anyway. So there's several options.
In this whole process, we want to remember the bigger and broader and we make it, the more official we make it, the more difficult it is, I think, to simply discuss the issues and make some progress on figuring out whether or not there's places for improvement. So that's just my comment. We, obviously, anyway, we've all been in big, gigantic meetings, and they're sometimes difficult to get the things done that we want to get done. So,
Kat, do you think it would work if we had a larger meeting, and maybe that larger meeting was just to set the agenda for the subcommittee, kind of identify which things you want to work on, and then ship those off to the smaller committees to help that out?
I mean, that's a reasonable way to go about it.
I think if we put that meeting forward as a largely information gathering endeavor in terms of the public participation, it gives us an opportunity to get all of that information in, to hear from each other as well as agencies, and then assign maybe some detailed study to the Code Adoption Subcommittee. And I think sort of the idea of being more inclusive will be more inclusive. So I'm always gonna opt for that. So that would be my suggestion.
All Right, so tracking where we left it, we have a motion to convene the code adoption subcommittee, but it sounds like what we've actually decided is we want to convene a special meeting of the full commission. So
This is Commissioner Klaus Brickner. I'd like to withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
I apologize. Did I interrupt?
No, do we have a new motion?
I'd like to make a motion to reconvene the entire commission, have a formal meeting with the entire commission to discuss the process and provide some direction for the code adoption subcommittee to study further possible changes to the process or formatting to help the commission in their pursuit of, voting approval, disapproval, or further study.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Commissioner
Mr.
Mickleton,
Chair,
second.
just a question. Do we even need a motion? I thought the purpose of this agenda item was to place future items or items for future agendas. And I don't know if our attorney wants to comment on that. I'm not sure that we need a motion. I think you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, so if the intent is just to place this on the future agenda item for the next meeting or the next couple of meetings, that would be fine. But if you want to convene a special meeting with just for this purpose, that might warrant a motion. So I guess it depends if it's just one of the items at the next meeting, or do you want to call to actually call yet another meeting besides what's regularly scheduled in the cycle?
The way the motion is currently worded, it would be convening a separate special meeting. Is that your intent, Commissioner Klaus Bruckner?
Yes, I think we should have a separate meeting and focus on just this and not everything else that's going on.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion. Did we have a second?
Yes, Commissioner Mickleton, second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded that the proposal be approved. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners regarding this motion? All right, hearing none, we'll now have a roll call vote. Commissioners in favor, please indicate by stating aye. Those opposed, please indicate by stating no. If abstaining, please state this. Pam, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Klaus Buckner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mickleton,
Aye.
Commissioner Sasaki,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Santillan,
Aye.
Commissioner Stockwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Rambin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. I'd like to just double check that regarding agenda item 11, future agenda items. Do any of the commissioners have any other items they wish to have placed on future agendas? All right, hearing none. This concludes the California Building Standards Commission meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Klaus Brickner.
Thank you. Commissioners in favor, please indicate by stating aye. Those opposed, please indicate by stating no. If abstaining, please state this.
Aye.
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 Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Be safe. Thanks.
Thank you.